November 2025, Elmendorf-Richardson Air Force Base, Alaska. A pilot from the 90th Fighter Squadron gets his deployment order at 0430 local time. His F-22A, tail number 05487, has 72 hours to reach Kadena Air Base, Okinawa. The mission brief is standard. The political reality behind it is not. He's been told to plan a hypothetical air superiority sweep over the East China Sea, Miyako Strait corridor, westward arc, threat axis toward the Senkakus. 4-ship, full fuel. AIM-120D AMRAAMs loaded internally. No external tanks. Maximum stealth configuration. What nobody has officially told him, though every pilot in the third wing already knows, the F-22s at Kadena are there on a rotation. 90 days. Then they go home. And for the 18 weeks between rotations, the most capable air superiority fighter ever built is not at the base closest to the Taiwan Strait. We'll come back to this pilot, and to the sortie count he ran that morning. But to understand why that number matters more than almost any other figure in Pacific air power right now, you need to know what happened at Kadena in the 2 years before his orders were cut. The F-22's story in the Pacific is not a capability story. Nobody questions what the Raptor can do. It's a presence story, and what happens when presence becomes conditional. In 2022, the Air Force announced it would withdraw the permanently stationed F-22s from Kadena. The 18th Wing, which had operated F-15CDs from that base for decades, was already transitioning. The F-22 detachments that had supplemented it were being reconsidered. The official rationale cited aircraft aging and infrastructure costs. By early 2023, the last permanently based Raptors had rotated out. What replaced them was a promise of continuous rotational presence. That promise had a gap built into it. Under the rotational model, F-22 squadrons deploy to Kadena for roughly 90 days, then return to their home stations, primarily Langley AFB in Virginia and Elmendorf-Richardson in Alaska. The gap between rotations is not a secret. PACAF has acknowledged it. Congressional testimony in 2024 put the average inter-rotation interval at roughly 18 weeks. 18 weeks during which no F-22 is based within reaction range of the Miyako Strait. That matters because the Miyako Strait is 130 nautical miles wide. It's the primary maritime choke point between the East China Sea and the Philippine Sea. Any Chinese naval or air movement toward Taiwan's eastern approaches passes through or near it. And the F-22 is the only aircraft in the U.S. inventory specifically optimized to contest it in a denied airspace environment on day one of a conflict. Here's what the F-22 actually does that nothing else in the inventory replicates. The AN/APG-77 AESO radar operates with low probability of intercept waveforms. It can search, track, and target without broadcasting a detectable emission. The aircraft's radar cross-section is officially undisclosed, but analysts estimate it at approximately 0.001 square meters in the frontal aspect, roughly the radar return of a large bumblebee. The J-20, China's fifth-generation fighter, has an estimated frontal RCS of between 0.0 and 0.05 square meters, orders of magnitude larger. In combat terms, the F-22 can acquire and fire on a J-20 before the J-20's radar warning receiver confirms it is being targeted. The AIM-120D AMRAAM, carried internally in the F-22's weapons bay, 4 missiles, no external signature, has a range of approximately 180 kilometers in high-altitude engagements. The PL-15, China's primary beyond visual range missile, has an estimated range of 200-plus kilometers. On paper, China has the longer shot. In practice, the F-22's ability to approach within firing parameters without detection narrows that gap to near zero. In a beyond visual range engagement over the Miyako Strait, the F-22 shoots first because it is seen last. I went through the 2025 RAND Pacific Wargame assessments, the public summaries, congressional testimony, PACAF budget justifications. One detail kept nagging at me. Not the aircraft numbers, the sortie numbers. Here's the operational math. Holding the Miyako Strait under contested conditions requires persistent combat air patrol, CAP, coverage. A standard 2-ship F-22 CAP, accounting for transit time from Kadena, time on station, and recovery generates roughly 2.5 hours of coverage per sortie pair. To maintain 24-hour continuous coverage of the strait, you need approximately 9 to 10 F-22 sorties per day. A deployed squadron of 12 aircraft, accounting for maintenance cycle and crew rest, can generate roughly 8 to 12 sorties per day under surge conditions. Under normal rotational operations, 6 to 8. The math is close. Not comfortable, close. And that assumes all aircraft are mission capable, weather cooperates, and no attrition has occurred. In the opening hours of a Taiwan contingency, none of those assumptions hold. The 2025 RAND unclassified summary, released to Congress in March 2025, described the rotational basing model as generating a presence rhythm that adversaries can anticipate. That's diplomatic language for a predictable gap. China's PLA Air Force monitors U.S. Air Force rotations through open-source means: flight tracker data, commercial satellite imagery, port calls. The departure of an F-22 rotation from Kadena is not a secret. What's most surprising about the basing debate isn't the capability gap itself. It's how openly the Air Force has discussed it while doing relatively little to close it. The alternative basing options studied publicly include Misawa Air Base in northern Japan, Guam's Andersen AFB, and the rehabilitated airfield at Tinian in the northern Mariana Islands. Each has problems. Misawa is optimized for strike, not air superiority cap. The transit adds 45 minutes each way. Andersen is 1,400 miles from the Miyako Strait. Tinian's runway can handle F-22s, but the infrastructure for sustained high-tempo operations does not yet exist. Here's where I'll probably get pushback. The rotational basing model was chosen partly because it's politically easier than negotiating permanent basing rights expansion in Japan, and partly because it's cheaper in a budget environment where the Air Force is simultaneously funding the B-21 Raider program and the Next Generation Air Dominance Initiative. The capability gap is real. The decision to accept it was a resource prioritization call, not a strategic miscalculation. Those are different things, and conflating them produces bad analysis. By late 2025, the Air Force had run 3 separate F-22 rotations to Kadena in the calendar year. Each lasted approximately 90 days. Aggregate coverage, roughly 270 days out of 365. The remaining 95 days, spread across 2 inter-rotation gaps, were covered by F-15EX Eagles from the 18th Wing, supplemented by F-35A deployments from the 388th Fighter Wing at Hill AFB. The F-15EX is an extraordinary aircraft. Its AN/APG-82 AESA radar arguably outperforms the APG-77 in detection range, but it is not a stealth aircraft. Its radar cross-section is approximately 10 to 25 square meters. Against J-20s equipped with PL-15 missiles in a contested environment, the F-15EX is visible before it can engage. Visible means targetable. Targetable in the opening seconds of a conflict means attrited before the war has a name. What do you think? Does the rotational model represent a rational resource trade-off? Or has the Air Force accepted a strategic risk that shouldn't be acceptable given current threat assessments? The answer probably depends on how you weigh Chinese intent versus Chinese capability, and those are genuinely different questions. By January 2026, congressional pressure on PACAF had produced a new commitment. The Air Force would maintain 0 inter-rotation gaps at Kadena through fiscal year 2026. The mechanism was overlap. The incoming rotation would arrive before the outgoing rotation departed, creating a 2-week overlap window. That costs more. It requires more crew hours, more maintenance support deployed forward, more tanker assets to move 12 additional aircraft and their support personnel. But it closes the gap. The obstacles weren't trivial. The KC-135 tanker shortfall, documented since the 2023 Air Mobility Command testimony to Senate Armed Services, means every long-range F-22 deployment competes for tanker allocation against other Pacific priorities. In November 2025, one planned rotation was delayed 11 days due to tanker scheduling conflicts with a B-52H deployment to Andersen. The overlap window narrowed to 3 days. The gap didn't open, but it almost did. One line from the congressional testimony stuck with me. A PACAF general, asked about the adequacy of the rotational model for a Taiwan contingency, said, and this is in the public record, "We assess our forward posture as adequate for deterrence. We are continuously evaluating options for enhanced persistent presence." That sentence is doing a lot of work. Adequate for deterrence is not the same as adequate for the opening 72 hours of a conflict. Deterrence requires adversary perception of capability. Combat effectiveness requires actual capability at the moment it is needed. The F-22 program produced 187 operational aircraft. Attrition and accidents have reduced the operational fleet to approximately 148 mission-capable airframes as of mid-2026. No additional F-22s will be built. The line closed in 2011. Every aircraft lost is gone permanently. That constraint shapes every basing decision, every deployment tempo, every maintenance budget. The Air Force is managing a finite and irreplaceable asset across competing demands from INDOPACOM, EUCOM, and the Continental Air Defense Mission. Will the rotational model hold under the operational demands of an actual Taiwan contingency? Comment yes or no. The open source analysis is genuinely split, and the answer matters. Back to the 90th Fighter Squadron pilot at Elmendorf-Richardson. He ran the sortie math that morning in November 2025. 4 aircraft, 90-day rotation, standard maintenance cycle. His calculation, a 4-ship detachment integrated into the larger Kadena rotation could sustain 6 to 8 sorties per day over the Miyako Strait under surge conditions. Not 9 to 10, close to the threshold, not over it. He filed his mission plan. His aircraft departed Elmendorf on schedule. The rotation completed its 90 days. The overlap protocol held. The next rotation arrived 4 days before his departed. The gap that everyone worried about did not materialize in that cycle. The F-22 will eventually be replaced by the Next Generation Air Dominance Platform, NGAD. The Air Force has disclosed almost nothing beyond its existence, and the fact that it will be a 6th-generation aircraft with AI-assisted targeting and a probable unit cost north of $300 million. Until it arrives, the Raptor is what the Pacific has. And what the Pacific has is a rotating presence that is, by the Air Force's own assessment, adequate for deterrence. Adequate for deterrence. The question no one can answer publicly is whether it's adequate for the 73 hours after deterrence fails. Subscribe. Next week, we're breaking down what China's J-20B variant, announced in late 2025, actually changed about PLA-AF 5th-generation doctrine, and whether the gap with the F-22 is closing faster than public assessments suggest.